Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
I got to hit you with the triple hey there. How's everybody doing? My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome to an episode of tonight's episode of the Pit Press Live, if I can talk. That's a mouthful. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody survived last night. And a big shout out to the Lobo fans when they boo when the liquor sale ends in the in the second half. Busy show today. We are Ed Nunez-less, but we have the better half, and I'll introduce him here in a second. With a fresh cut. No Rick Thompson tonight. He's on husband and wife duty. But out of the bullpen, very, very happy to have a basketball player, and I'll introduce him in a second. But I want a former UNM basketball player. Let me be very specific. I want to thank those that make this show, and congratulations to everybody who got TikTok back. Nick, I couldn't set up the breaking news, so I guess TikTok's back. You're a lawyer. You probably understand it better than I. Thank God I don't do stand-up comedy. Dulce River and Bakery and Coffee. I want to thank those that make this show possible and have been very supportive of us in the 2 years that we've been doing this. Dulce River Bakery and Coffee, Affordable Solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room, Hydro Bar, Timbaca Senior, Timbaca Junior, and Affordable Service, heating, plumbing, and air conditioning for your HVAC needs in the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho area. Affordable Service has been in business in New Mexico since 1986 and is still locally owned. During that time, they've served more than 40,000 customers, providing complete residential and light commercial HVAC services, including heating and cooling and electrical and plumbing. Affordable Service takes pride in its staff and its commitment to the Albuquerque and Rio Rancho area. Before I get to today's guest or panel, Shawn Harrison from the Utah Logan Herald Journal will be joining us at 9 o'clock, or at least me. These guys can jump off, don't care. They can stay on. Nick, I will introduce you first.
Hey, good evening, Ryan. George, excited to talk with you both. Unconventional Lobo win, at least in terms of the way they've been winning games. A close one where they had to battle back, but excited to break it down and excited to be on with former Lobo George Scott.
Nick Nunez, everybody, the better half of the Nunez clan, and punting the basketball connoisseur into the street. Appreciate it. And very happy to have this guy on. As I mentioned, I'm going to bug George and Phil McDonald down the stretch here this Lobo season, well into March. He played for UNM in 82 and 83, the 82-83 season, then the 84 and 85 season. Hey, 12 points and 6 boards in his UNM career. I find that pretty darn good for a college career. Via the Ed Nunez channel of former players that he probably heard. Nick, I love your dad. His name is Mr. George Scott. George, we've had you on before, and here we are to have you break down as our analyst tonight. How are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
Doing well. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Appreciate it. I'll get your thoughts on the game here in a second, but I'm not going to bring up the video. I do have the audio of it, of the shot heard around Albuquerque last night.
Then telling everyone to clear out. 5 on the timer. Milicevic for 3. And it goes home. New Mexico leads with 30 seconds to play.
Probably, I would say maybe the biggest shot of the year for UNM. Donovan Dent, the veteran junior, passing it off to true freshman Jovan Milicevic, who I apologize to mispronouncing his name earlier in the year. Milicevic, the Serbian, is the each. Game's tied at 65-65. Milicevic hits a 3 with 30 seconds left. UNM never looked back. Nick, I'll start with you, then I'll get George's thoughts, then I'll give you my thoughts, because I think you can see I took the old hat out of mothballs tonight, and maybe I'll put it on. Make your free throws. Appreciate that. Nick, I'll start with you. I just wanted your general thoughts on the game last night. You and your dad and I were on press row. Just general thoughts.
Yeah, it was a game that UNM just had to grit one out. A clunky game. Coach Patino talked about it in the post-game conference. Just a lot of fouls in that first half. I think there were 9 fouls in the first 7 minutes. So UNM just didn't get a lot of opportunities to get out in transition. Their first baskets of the game, the first one was a true Washington steal, and then Nelly got out on the break. They didn't hit a shot in the half court until CJ Nolan's 3 right around the 11:45 mark. So just a clunky game. And, I'll kind of talk more about it later on, but that shot by Milicevic, big shot for a freshman, just to see how much he's grown in this last season and all the confidence that he's playing with. He hit 2 threes in those final 5 minutes that really pushed UNM over the top. They needed to score. He answered, and just a gritty win. And I'll turn it over to George to see what he thinks.
George, your thoughts?
Well, I'll take that one step further. What Ryan said, I thought it was a ugly game. It was hard to watch. I think we all, as fans, kept waiting for us to flick the switch, go on one of our patented 20-2 runs, and blow them out of the water. But that never happened. It was hard to watch. And I think as the evening wore on, I think we all kind of subconsciously were prepared for us to lose that game, because I think I saw on the news tonight that we trailed all but 67 seconds of that entire game. So I think we were just kind of coming to terms with the fact that we were going to lose this game, which would be horrible timing going into the Utah State game on Sunday. But we somehow pulled it out. We got really, really lucky last night.
Ed's not here, George, and I always quote Mike Tyson's, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Right.
If I were a gambling man, and I am, plus 17.5, or excuse me, minus set, they were 17.5 point favorites last night, UNM, which honestly I kind of thought easily they may cover.
Yes.
I really went into this game last night thinking they were going to blow them out just the way they had been playing. I'll get to Patino in a minute and then Milicevic, but I'm a big proponent of physical play regardless. And Wyoming, kind of a lot of the comments made last night, I'm talking to two basketball players, very physical. Kind of reminded me, I mentioned it probably on Tuesday. Hey, it was like the Bad Boys last night. That one center for Wyoming kind of put Nelly Jr. Joseph in check. I think it was Olgul Kogentis. I could be wrong, but the guy that came off the bench. Yeah. Big dude, kind of got some strength. I don't know. I think UNM, I don't know if I want to say they were looking ahead or maybe it's just another bad matchup, but good teams, I think, find a way to do it, and they did it last night. I always make the metaphor this season, especially with the NMSU and San Jose State loss, that it's an extinction level event for your tournament chances. It's like an asteroid hitting the planet. And that would have been very bad, I think, in the committee's eyes last night had they lost at home to that Wyoming team, who was only at the time 4-9 in conference. Here's Richard Pitino on the 3. And I enjoy his comparison at the beginning. Nick, you were in the press conference. Patino's the man. He's got a good sense of humor. I do love that about him.
Told him you looked like Shaq at the free throw line and Steph Curry from 3. That's what I said after the game. Freshman in that moment to make that 3, a tie game, 30 seconds to go, knock it down. Very, very proud of him. He's an awesome kid. Phenomenal stroke. Even the free throws, probably a little bit of nerves for a freshman, but when you shoot it, you think it's going in. And
I guess shooters shoot. They shoot their shot. Man, we got to get to the refs, the free throw, the ref show. And I am going to definitely, Nick, you're always on board for these. There's no Rick or Ed tonight. Hey, Lobo fan, the refs didn't miss 16 free throws. Just an FYI there. George, I'll get your reaction in a second if you disagree or agree with me. It was painful to watch. I thought in the first half, the way they dictated the game, what is his name? Vern Harrison is like public enemy #1 in Albuquerque. A rare
Vern Harris,
excuse me. A very, very rare technical by Richard Pitino, who he said he deserved it, which was great. Nick, I'll throw it over to you, but it's not like Wyoming was any better. They don't really get a free pass. They only shot 14 free throws. So I think the Kansas City Lobos last night kind of need to, I don't know, maybe pump the brakes on that, because you look at the final box score, it didn't indicate the first half to what the game was. But Wyoming missed 10 free throws, shot 14. So they only hit 4. I just thought, to leave that many points at the line, even if you hit 5 or 6 of those, you're kind of in the clear late in the game. Nick, I'll throw it over to you. I don't know where you want to start, whether it be the officiating, the free throws, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I guess I'll start with the officiating. I mean, George Scott would certainly be the better person to ask, because he played at the Division I college level and can speak to what it's like when you're playing in those situations when calls aren't going your way. How do you respond to that? Like I said, there were a lot of fouls called. Pitino did earn his money. I think we were talking in the post-game press conference before Milicevic and Pitino walked in, and I think it was Jeff Grammer who said that Pitino doesn't have a T this year. I'd have to check on that. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But it was just one of those games where it was like 3 or 4 bad calls went against us. And, Donnie was complaining to the refs. He's got a habit of doing that. And when you had the view that we did, you could see Pitino was almost like, give me the T before you give Donnie the T. Because he said in the post-game press conference that Donovan Dent went up to him and told him, hey, coach, calm down. And he was like, it's ironic that you're telling me that, because all you do is complain to the refs. So just comments on the officiating. I mean, George would know this, man. Sometimes just calls don't go your way. It's part of the game. You can be mad. I get it. Lobo fans are upset. We hear some of the things that are being said to the officials at the game. I get it. But that's just part of the game. Bad officiating is just part of the game. With that said, I'll turn it over to George for his thoughts.
Well, I agree. The officiating was really bad last night, but I think it was consistently bad both ways. I don't think any team got or had an advantage last night. But, whenever that happens, you just got to play through it. I remember back when I played, I was always having to grab Scarborough and Hunter, because those guys were kind of mouthy back then. I would grab them and say, look, don't piss off the referee. Or I tell those guys, they're not going to change the call. Let it go. So I found myself being the peacemaker out there, trying to keep those guys from mouthing off to the referee, especially Scar. Scar was very emotional, and it was hard to keep him under control sometimes. But you just got to fight through it. And regarding Vern Harris last night, I'm starting to think, first of all, I agree that he is public enemy #1 around here. I'm starting to think if maybe he's trying to prove to people that he's not going to be intimidated by the crowd at the pit. So he is calling calls against us to prove that he's not going to be intimidated, because the fans were all over him, just like they were for the which game was that? I don't know if it was San Diego State or UNLV, but it was one of those games about a month ago that he was horrible. And I don't know. I'm just wondering if he's just trying to stand up to the crowd and say, "Look, you're not going to intimidate me. I'm going to do what I do." And those 50-50 calls are maybe going against us. I don't know. It's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, sure.
No, I kind of agree with that. I'm blatantly honest. I don't pay attention to the officiating. I don't really care. I always think that you can do more to win the game on your end. Now, have there been bad calls in the history of sports in this country? Hell yeah. 2018 NFC champ. I compare everything to football because that's what I know of the history of the best. For some reason, Chris Webber calling the timeout always pops in my head, even though that was his fault and Michigan didn't have any timeouts. And that's not bad officiating. I don't know why that always pops in my head when I'm talking about bad things in the history of this country. I thought the Lobos weathered that storm. And I'm going to piggyback off of what I said the other night. Was it Monday or Tuesday? That I think this, and Georgia, maybe I'll get your thoughts on this too, is I have to preface it again. I'm not an X's and O's guy. I just enjoy losing money on college basketball, and I watch a lot of it. Thursday night in February, January, February, and early March are my favorite nights because I love the Big West. I love the West Coast Conference. I love those smaller conferences to watch. But I think the one thing I've said about Pitino, and for listeners, I know I'm repeating myself, but not to you, George. I think Pitino has done a fantastic job building this program. I'm not necessarily sure, and it's not a knock. I'm not here talking, expletive. I've always wondered as an observation, is he the best X's and O's guy? I don't know that. I'm not putting you on the spot, but my comment was, I think that this might be his best coaching job in the 4 years that he's been here, given what we've seen second half adjustments. We didn't even mention that last night. They come out, they go on that, a 10-0 run to start the game. I'm just curious how you viewed his second half adjustments and maybe the coaching he's done this season, especially in conference play.
Right. Yeah. That 10-0 run speaks for itself. That essentially put us back in the game. So I would agree with you that this is probably his best coaching job. He's a young coach, so he's still figuring things out. I'm sure he gets a lot of advice from his three with you. He's done a very, very good job this year. I think it also helps that this is probably his most talented team that he's had here. I remember last year after we lost to Clemson in the NCAA tournament, him going on record as saying that we needed more length. We needed to get longer because Clemson's guards in the tournament last year really, really hurt us. And he made a concerted effort to get bigger and longer. And he flicked the switch, and sure enough, we've got great size on our wings now. So I think that's part of it too. So yeah, his coaching, I think, has improved, and we are just more talented. We are a deeper team this year than I think we've ever been on his watch.
No, I appreciate that answer. Nelly Jr. Joseph kind of got in foul trouble last night. It kind of, limited his play. Tiki Aliatiki came in. Jovan Milicevic, I think, was playing the 5. Nick, you could probably tell me that better than I. I don't know. I will say this, and not trying to ramble and be all over the place. I think Jovan, as a true freshman, he's definitely become one of my favorite players this year, if not probably the favorite player on the team. Which is crazy because I've always enjoyed watching Donovan Dent the last 3 years, but I feel like we know what Dent's going to do. And I don't want to use the term I don't care, but we know what Dent's going to do. I think I'm looking for the other guys to step up. I don't know if that's fair. but I don't know if you want to comment on Nelly and his foul trouble last night, or
Yeah.
how Patino made that adjustment.
Yeah, he got in foul trouble early in the first half. Him and True both got 2 right around the midway point. I don't remember the exact timestamp, but it was midway through the first half. Nelly picks up 2. I think, and George could definitely speak to this much better than me, but I think when Nelly's out of the game, UNM is a different team defensively. Rick had some really good notes. Wyoming went pick and roll almost every single half court set down, in my view. I mean, they were just getting the ball in Obi Agbim or AJ Will's hands, and those guys were coming off ball screens and just either taking it to the rack, shooting in the mid range, finding the roller. And when Nelly's out of the game, I just don't think Atiki's as good of a pick and roll defender as Nelly is. Nelly's a little more active. He can hedge a little harder. I think he's a little more mobile and can guard out on the perimeter and in the mid-range a little bit better than Tiki can. So like you mentioned, Ryan, Coach Patino goes to the bench, plays small. There's some lineups in there with Milicevic and Borovichinen as the Lobos bigs. And I thought they had True and CJ out there as well. So True, Donnie, CJ, Borovichinen, and Milicevic, a lineup that we really haven't seen a lot of this year. They had that lineup in, for about 5 minutes from the 10-minute mark of the second half. So, it's a team with Wyoming that is very physical, that rebounded the ball pretty well, but we'll see. Hopefully Atiki can still give him something, because I think he's a really good rim protector. But I think Coach Patino made the adjustments that he needed to make, for the Lobos to come out with the win. We've seen him do that time and time again. And I think he's going to have his team ready for Utah State.
George, I'll ask you that question. What did you see offensively from Wyoming last night that gave UNM trouble?
Well, I think our biggest problem was that, again, subconsciously, I just think we were looking ahead to Utah State. That 17-point spread speaks for itself. I don't think the players are aware of our point spreads, but I just don't think we were fully focused on the task at hand last night. And by the time we realized we were in a dogfight, we were, 10, 12 points down. But we somehow survived it. We got through it, and it's a small miracle that we won the game. Because, think about that. We trailed the entire game except for 67 seconds. That is crazy. We were very lucky to get out of that game last night. But Nelly was huge with that game-saving block. Oh, my God, that was huge. He jumped about 4 feet off the ground, straight up in the air, and all he did was just flick his wrist. He didn't swing his arm. He just flicked his wrist and just practically threw that ball in the stands. So that was huge. And, we were very, very lucky to steal that game. And we did steal that game last night. We should have lost that game. But, again, we got lucky.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I know that's cliche to say. George, you mentioned it. Wyoming, which only trailed for 67 seconds all game, they dropped to 11-14 and 4-10 in the Mountain West, the third worst mark in the conference. So again, that would have been a really bad loss at home again for UNM. That's the second game this year. Although I thought San Jose State is a kind of a weird matchup for them, being that they split and that's their only loss, and they're kind of a defensive rebound away from being 14-0. And we'll talk a little bit about Utah State. I do got to do this for you, Nick. Here you go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Dad. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good looking flow. Good cut of lead. And then my buddy Mike Matas is watching, who is a manager for Steve Alford. He made this comment to me. Where'd it go? Here you go, Mike. Statler and Waldorf. There you go. It's an inside joke. We said that we're getting older and we're bitching like them. So there you go. I just want to go to the comments real quick. Luis Torres, Nelly had that's a pretty cool picture. Nelly had the biggest of the year. Yeah, you can agree or disagree. That did beat Nevada. And 1,000th game in the pit, maybe Lobo history. It's up there as the biggest one. J-Rod 17, rank them. That's a whole different conversation. And Ryan, the Lobo hater, yeah, that wasn't a top 25 team last night. Top 25 in effort, definitely. I appreciated that. And then George, this is for you. This is for don't want to use the term friend of the show, but I will here. John Romero, George Scott, and Ron Beach, the dynamic duo from College of Southern Idaho Junior College in the early 80s was like yesterday. I don't know if you have a comment. He said one of the best combos ever. George, I don't know if you have a comment on that.
Wow, John, thank you for the comment. I really appreciate it. You must really know your basketball because 1980 was a long time ago. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
One thing we didn't mention, because I think there was so much in that game last night, which is kind of crazy when you've got a 4-9 team in conference coming in and playing the number one team in the Mountain West with UNM, and they've only lost one game. They didn't see him in Wyoming, but was Obi Ogman. I saw some things on Twitter that he was flopping. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to that. If he did, he had 22 points. He had 1 assist. He was 3 of 6 from 3. He hit some big shots down the stretch. Nick, I wanted to know what you thought of his performance, because he might be definitely one of the hidden gems in this season of the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, I think he's top 5 in the conference in scoring. Impressive because he played basketball last year at Fort Lewis, which is a Division II school in the RMAC. So for him to make the jump to Division I and just, be a top 5 scorer in the Mountain West Conference in his first season, really impressive. Just a 3-level scorer, can shoot from 3. I'll pull up his numbers from 3 here in a second. He was 3 for 6 from 3, 9 of 18 from the field, 22 points. Really good coming off the pick and roll. He can hit the mid-range. He's a good passer, really athletic. So, didn't play against UNM the first time. Coach Pitino talked about it in the post-game press conference. That was a little bit of the difference in this game, just having another dynamic scorer. But I thought he was a tough cover for UNM.
It really boggles my mind that he was 9 of 18 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3-point beyond the arc, 1 of 3 from the free throw line, and he shot better than they did at the free throw line and UNM. Right. George, same question to you. Just thoughts on his performance last night, and anything you noticed about him.
I was very impressed with him. Question for you guys: why didn't he play the first game? Was he injured or something?
He was injured. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was really impressed with him. He's got a nice outside game. He made some really sweet 3-pointers, and he dunked the ball one time so hard. His head was next to the rim. That backboard still might be shaking. He dunked that ball so hard last night. And I was asking the people sitting next to me, who in the hell is he? Where was he at the first game? Because I definitely did not remember him, but he was definitely a difference maker last night. He got my attention right away. Great player.
I'm looking at Rick's notes here. I love this. So we had the pleasure of talking to Cole Henry and Kobe Newton. I didn't see Kobe Newton play last night. I didn't know what was wrong with him. If anybody's watching, they can check me again. But Cole Henry transferred from Northern Iowa. When we talked to him in Vegas, he said he had never been in a city that big or had been to Vegas. So he was all soaking it in. So a little farm boy from Iowa. Ed Nunez is broadcasting in Western NM and Eastern NM right now. How the heck did he work that comment in? I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
He's multitasking.
He's multitasking.
He's definitely the better half between us, Ryan, by the way, just so the record is clear.
That just proved it, because he's a male and can multitask. Go figure. Cole Henry, this is Rick's notes. Cole Henry, 10 points, 4 rebounds, almost lost an eye. He was awesome to talk to. Appreciated that. Jordan Nelson, 8 points for Wyoming, 7 rebounds. AJ Willis, 12 points, 2 of 2 from 3.3 assists. I didn't play Milicevic on his shot last night, so here it is.
I told him, I said, I'm ready. I'm ready. Whenever you pass it to me, I'm ready to shoot it. So, and I went there.
Well, I guess I thought I cut a better clip than that. Sorry about that. I think he was just talking. I'll ask this to you, George, and I don't know, if I mentioned it earlier, but for Donovan Dent to have that kind of faith in a true freshman to shoot that shot, I don't know. What does that say about Jovan?
That tells me that he has earned everyone's respect. Even taking that one step further, the fact that Coach Pitino even has him on the floor in crunch time as a freshman tells me a lot, because most freshmen don't see the court unless you're a Donovan Dent or you a JT Toppin or some kind of prodigy, So he's obviously proved himself in practice to where Pitino and Donnie feel they can trust him. And the fact that he buried that shot last night in crunch time, that's going to lift his confidence and allow people to have even more trust in him going forward as we finish up February and proceed into March.
Nick, your thoughts on that? Like I said, I think if he sticks around here, man, he might be a really, really good player. But your thoughts on, a true freshman, not just hitting that shot, but going for 3 for 3 from beyond the arc.
Huge. One thing about Jovan Milicevic is he has the body to really be effective as a freshman. The difference between him and Cade Dotson's 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2", if he's lucky. Jovan Milicevic is 6'10". Don't know his exact weight. I know he trimmed down. He's probably around 230, 240, if I had to guess. Somewhere around there. But just that body that he has, he's able to play inside. He has an awesome 3-point stroke. You saw it. He went 3 for 3. And he's got that signature, puts the 3 fingers over the mouth. He's really become a fan favorite. Another thing I really like about him is I think he's really well-spoken. I mean, go back and watch him on his post-game interview during the post-game press conference, and he gives very thoughtful answers to questions. So just an all-around mature kid. Hope he sticks around. Hope we can keep him.
We were efforting a player tonight, but they chose to go to the Lady Lobos game, or the UNM women's basketball game, to support them, which can't blame them. And just some house cleaning. They were up on Boise State. And I just want to give you guys the score. That way, give them some love. And we need to get JJ on. JJ Buck, the voice of the UNM women's basketball team.
It's a close game, Ryan. It's 75-73 UNM with 1:02 left in the fourth.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to live stats. Appreciate that. I was able to bring this up a little bit faster than the women's score. Yep, 75-73. Very good. 41 seconds left. NMSU is down to Liberty with 11:22 to go in the second half. 38-35 to the Liberty Flames. 2 injuries of note. Mustafa Amzil still fighting plantar fasciitis. And then which I guess Pitino mentioned in the second half. In the post-game press conference, Dent rolled his ankle but stayed in the game. Rick's conspiracy theory is it happened at the end of the first half. I didn't see it. I guess I'm going to be cliche journalist here, and George, I'll throw to you. How does that ail Dent? They've got 2 veterans kind of banged up. They have had, they've got some depth, and they obviously had a true freshman step up last night. But when you heard that Dent had rolled his ankle, your thoughts?
Well, obviously, deep concern going into the Utah State game on Sunday, because they're going to come in here looking for revenge after we blew them out on their home court. So hopefully Donnie's getting some treatment and he's staying off of it. But he is the head of our body. He is the engine that drives the Lobo car. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he'll be at full strength, because the pit is going to be rocking on Sunday. I heard from UNM officials a couple days ago that the game is completely sold out. There isn't a single ticket left to be had. So if you don't have a ticket, you will not be able to attend. So, yeah, hopefully Donnie will be at full strength, and we can have a great showing and sweep them. That'd be great going into the Mountain West tournament.
I want to throw this out there. I think a win. Utah State is 12-2. Obviously, UNM at 13-1. Utah State does have a better overall record. I don't know if that really matters at this point. But I guess I would want to say, you do have to go to Boise. You do have to go to San Diego State. You do have to go to Nevada. And there are 5 games left after Utah State. It's a 2:00 afternoon. Football is over. It's on CBS Sports Network. So a lot of eyes on it. I don't know. I would say if they're able to win this game, they could be in the driver's seats for winning the conference outright. Again, I don't want to jinx it. The last time that these two teams played was on February 1st in a sold-out Spectrum in Logan, Utah. They call it Spectrum Magic there. Utah State was up 6 and then came out cold in the second half. UNM scored 52. It's part of that 3-game stretch where they had 50 points in 3 straight games with 50 points scored in the second half. USU was terrible in the second half. The free throws were bad. Had the pleasure of meeting Ian Martinez and Drake Allen. He played well. Ian Martinez was having, I guess, the yips from the free throw line. Utah State is coming off a home win versus Colorado State, 93-85. USU led 45-30 at the half and was up as many as 22 in the game. They did give up the lead. They did that similarly to Fresno State. Mason Foslev, another great player, led the way with 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think being sold out is a big deal. This is this is late February, getting into March. Nick, I'll start with you. How important is this game on Sunday, and can you see a repeat performance from what they had in Logan?
Every game that UNM has remaining is super important. This one is another, I believe it's a quad 1 or quad 2 opportunity for UNM. So an opportunity for the Lobos to build their NCAA tournament resume and just play against, the second best team in the conference, Utah State. It's a huge game. We've got a couple days to get ready. Utah State shot 12 of 23 from 3 against Colorado State the other night, shot over 50%. When we played them, they shot 5 of 31 from 3. And we said it on the show when we broke down the game. A lot of those shots that they had in the first half, Utah State, when they played UNM, they were, in my view, pretty open looks that were right on the rim. So just some nights you just don't shoot well. You got to think they're going to shoot better than 5 for 31. And I think UNM defensively is just going to need to be very disciplined. They're going to have to try to not get in foul trouble, man. I think they're a different team when True and Nelly are out of the game in foul trouble. So, play smart, play aggressive. They're going to need to jump on them early. No more late starts. Let's get this thing going right away.
I think that's a big deal. Yeah, I think it's going to have to be a San Diego State or Boise State where they just come out and
blow the doors off.
Blow the doors off. Yeah, exactly. George, I wanted your yeah, you took that you put that that was better than I could have ever said. I want your thoughts on maybe, again, you're UNM men's basketball alumni. You've played in that arena, and I'll get a couple final thoughts before we wrap up this hour. But I guess I'll just start with this, the significance of this game. And then I'll ask you, since we haven't had you on during the course of the season, I'll get your thoughts on the season. But I mean, where do you look at this game on Sunday and how important it is?
Huge. This is our biggest game of the year. There is no doubt in my mind we will be completely ready to play. I really think that last night we were subconsciously thinking about Utah State. I don't think any of our players will admit that, but I'm sure that the players know the game is sold out. I'm sure people on campus are asking those guys for tickets and, asking about the game Sunday. I'm sure no one was asking about Wyoming. So it's really difficult to focus on the task, the matter at hand. And I think subconsciously that almost caught up with us last night. But we'll be ready, chomping at the bit. It's going to be a great game. I am so looking forward to it. Sunday cannot get here fast enough because I wanted to show that our blowout win on their court was not a fluke.
I like hearing that. I also wanted to get your thoughts on the season, and maybe where it ranks. Obviously, a big win over UCLA. I thought I was at both those games. I was at St. John's because I got New York, New Jersey roots.
Were you really?
Yeah, I got New Jersey roots. Yeah, I went to both games, but I thought they played pretty well. I didn't think the stage was too big in Madison Square Garden. I thought that I think that St. John's is a good team. You know, they're ranked as high as 9th. Villanova snake bit them last night. They got them. Yeah. I mean, they were probably due. But overall, I mean, how do you think this season has gone? And is this maybe, you know, not taking away anything from the 90s teams, not taking anything away from Alfred's team, not taking anything away from Ellenberger's teams? Is this one of the more one of my lights just turned off. Is this one of the more talented teams in history for Lobo basketball? And I know the season hasn't been written yet.
I really think so. We are very deep. We are 7, 8, maybe 9 players deep. And yes, I do think this is one of our more talented teams. I've really enjoyed this year. I also went to New York City, and I noticed you were wearing your New York shirt. I also have my New York shirt that I bought this. I went to Madison Square Garden, so I was there front and center watching. Yes, it's been a fun year. And I honestly didn't think we would do this well, considering we lost Jalen, we lost Jamal, and we lost JT Toppin, who went for 41 and 15 last night. I'm sure you guys knew about that. He had a monster game last night. But the fact that we lost 3 starters and that Boise State had a lot of guys returning. San Diego State was predicted to be strong as usual. Utah State was predicted to be strong as usual. So for me, we are playing very well, surprisingly so. I did not expect us to do this well. I also thought Boise State would do better than they have so far. I thought San Diego State would do better than they have. So it's been a very shocking season with how well we've been blowing teams out consistently, winning on the road consistently. And I just cannot wait to see how this thing plays out. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to Vegas. Already got my flight and hotel reservations, as well as I'm sure half of Albuquerque does. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I am booked out there, which is my favorite thing to do, is to board an airplane. That's sarcasm. And then, like I just mentioned, growing up, both parents being from New Jersey, I didn't mind it as a kid. Now, I used to get blackout drunk on airplanes because that's how much I hated flying. Nothing like delving into my life story there. I think what maybe asking you, George, is, you know, there's been a lot of positive, but you've been a part of the rivalry. How did you take that NMSU loss, and what did you see in that game? And it seems like they've bounced back really well since then.
Yeah, that was very shocking because it seems like our team has no trouble getting up for Utah State, San Diego State, you know, UNLV, our big rivals. State is arguably our biggest rival. So I was surprised that we came out as flat as we did and we played as poorly as we did. So I just think that was just a fluke thing. We quickly turned it around. I think I read or heard that Donovan kind of stepped up from a leadership standpoint and told the guys, hey, we're going to be okay. We've got this. We're going to put this behind us, and let's just keep driving this train forward. So, yeah.
Nick, do you have any final thoughts with George or any other questions?
Yeah, just a question for George, maybe, because I've heard this topic come up on Lobos Live with Kenny Thomas. George, you played with obviously a lot of Lobo greats. You've seen the program for over 40 years. Where does Nelly Jr. Joseph rank in your view in terms of great Lobo bigs?
Well, I think he's up there near the top. I don't want to offend anybody by saying that Nelly is better than so and so, but he is definitely near the top. And the thing I've noticed about him is how much better he has gotten. He is continuing to improve. You guys remember last year when he reported late?
Yeah.
I guess he was kind of out of shape and he didn't play very well, the first month of the season. And I remember we were thinking, who is this stiff? No wonder Daddy Patino shipped him out to Albuquerque, because I was not impressed with him at all last year, but he continues to improve. And now it's to the point where I'm amazed at his footwork. He's got great feet. I'm amazed at how soft his hands are. He's not the greatest free throw shooter, but he's got a good feel for the ball. And his footwork is unbelievable considering he's 6'10", 6'11", probably 240, 250. He is very light on his feet, which is what you want in a center instead of some big clunky guy that's plodding up and down the court like a Clydesdale. But I continue to be impressed by him.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point, George. He's his post game has really developed this year compared to last year. And he's just become kind of an all-around big that gives you something on both ends of the floor. So couldn't agree more. Ryan, I just had that kind of final question for George.
One person we haven't talked about enough, and then this maybe we'll end this, then we'll get Shawn Harrison on from the Logan Herald Journal in Logan, Utah. Is CJ Nolan. We don't have Jacob Neff on tonight. George Neff is a friend of ours, and he's got a lot of gambling roots in Las Vegas. His uncle was a big wig in Vegas at one point with M Life, owns MGM, the Mirage. You could tell the guy, hey, what's the line going to be on the opening game of the NFL next year? It'll be like 3.5, and it was at 3. That's the kind of guy he is. Baseball prospects and college basketball is his thing. He knows everything. And when he saw CJ Nolan come here, he was like, defensively, they got a guy and then a 3-point shooter. He was 3 of 11 last night, 2 of 6 from the 3, and then he, bless him, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. But he's played pretty well in the last, in these down the stretch. He's one of the new faces. What are your thoughts on CJ Nolan? Because I think he's been a great addition, and I think it took a little bit of time, but he's been really showing his talents as of late.
I love his game. Something that the local media hasn't really picked up on that I'm going to clue you guys in on. He is a former football player. I went to the opening practice and I was out on the court visiting with the players, and I was talking to him, and he told me that, he played high school football and apparently he was pretty good at it. So with him having a football background, I love that because I like his toughness. You don't push football players around. And I played enough pickup basketball with the UNM football players down at Johnson Gym to know those guys are fearless. They don't back down, and they are tough. And that's what I love about CJ Nolan. He kind of reminds me of Doris Gary, Alfred's great point guard, who also was a former football player. Doris was very tough, and you did not push Doris around. So going forward, I love CJ's toughness. He doesn't back down. I think it's so funny how he'll get up ahead of steam and he'll try to dunk on whoever. The ball shoots 20 feet in the air, but he doesn't care because, again, that's that toughness in him. And if he keeps missing dunks, I'm fine with that because, damn it, he's trying. He's going to the basket strong, and he's trying to dunk in traffic. I love that.
Yeah, Doris, we've had on the show. I had the pleasure of covering him when he played under Alfred, and he was a running back in Elkhart, Indiana. He was I don't know, man. You look at him, you're like, yeah, you got that running back type build and that body. I would not want to tackle him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty
absolutely.
cool. That's pretty cool that you do that. Nick, I'll straight up just say this to you on the air. You can join me for Shawn Harrison. It might help out. Only be within 15, 20 minutes. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Mr. George Scott. George, I'm going to have you on a lot more. It's a pleasure running into you at the game last night. I want to thank you for joining us. We'll bug you down the stretch here towards the end. And like I said, maybe we'll get you on with Phil. You guys can break down this season and what Patino's squad is doing. But I really appreciate you joining tonight. Do you have any other final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised about this season, as I mentioned, and I'm really looking forward to Vegas, and more importantly, after Vegas, because we kind of flamed out against Clemson last year in the first round. So I'm assuming we're going to make it to the NCAA tournament one way or another. But I'm just really hoping that if we do make it to the tournament, that we will at least last past the opening weekend. So,
you know what? While I've got you on for a few more minutes, I've beat this to death. You have played. You are alumni, and I have kind of posed the question as you're a basketball alumni. Nick and I are UNM alumni. Ed's UNM alumni. Rick, who joins us, is UNM alumni. Eric Malton, my business partner in this, got his master's at UNM, grew up here. He's a big Lobo fan. Jacob, Rick, everybody is UNM alumni. And I kind of told this to your dad, Nick. We have seen many a team win the WAC, win at least, I'm pushing 40, but win the WAC, win the Mountain West, have a stellar regular season, maybe win the tournament and find your way in the NCAA tournament. I'm kind of over that, George. I think at some point I would love, you think about, I think about Wichita State in 2013. They made the Final Four. I used to walk around Jersey City. St. Peter's is from there. VCU has made the Final Four. George Mason. You have all these smaller schools. I know what Jim Larinaga did, and I know they're in the ACC, but Miami was in the Final Four. San Diego State has played for a national title. At some point, would you love to see, maybe, who cares about the regular season and the conference title, just somehow find your way in the tournament and maybe play on the second weekend? Would you trade a Mountain West Conference title or a kidney for that?
absolutely. I would absolutely love that. And also, speaking of which, that's why I'm not a big rankings guy. I know a lot of people are disappointed that we're not ranked. I don't really care about rankings, because to me, rankings put a target on your back. I'd rather fly below the radar and make a deep run past opening weekend. So I don't care that we're not ranked. Let's just keep winning. Having people thinking that we're not in the United States, that it's not okay to drink the water here, that you need a visa or a passport to go to let people keep thinking that, so we can sneak up on people, because the moment we're ranked 12th or 13th or 15th, we've got a target on our back, and we're not going to sneak up on anybody.
That's kind of how I feel. I think at this point, with the history of the program, and I think playing on Thursday or Friday on the second weekend, and then maybe playing on Saturday or Sunday would be awesome. Or to quote Tom Berenger in the movie Major League, win the whole expletive thing would be cool.
Yes.
The Mountain West Conference titles are great. I appreciate that answer, George, and I appreciate you spending an hour with us tonight. And like I said, I'll bug you down the stretch, but I cannot thank you enough. And hopefully I'll run into the game on Sunday.
Well, I'll be there. Ryan, Nick, thank you guys for having me on. I am very opinionated, as you guys know, so I'm happy to come on anytime.
No, I'm going to bug you more often. I appreciate it, George. Have a good one.
Nice
You
talking
too.
with
You guys
George.
have a good night.
Appreciate
You're
you.
welcome.
Former Lobo George Scott, who's posted some great numbers. Yeah, Nick, if you don't mind sticking around with me for another 15, 20 minutes. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to get Shawn on the phone, and I do have to lose the little boys' room because my bladder is getting old. Pleasure to George Scott. I'm Ryan Tamori. This is Nick Nunez. For Ed Nunez, Jacob Neff, Rick Thompson, and Eric Malton, this is the Pit Press Live. We will be right back.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the show. I'm waiting for Nick to. Oh, there he is. Perfect. All right, Nick's back with us. All right, Nick. Very quickly before we get to Shawn Harrison of the Logan Herald Journal, I thought George was awesome, man. I know we've had him on before. We got to have him on again, and he is opinionated. I love it.
For sure, George Scott, man. I mean, Lobo legend. You know, there's an iconic picture that's circulated on that UNM Lobos Facebook page. I think of him standing next to Patrick Ewing. I mean, just how cool it is to be a part of this, you know, Lobo basketball brotherhood that he is, and he always gives great takes, and we're always lucky to have him on.
Yeah, no, I love it. Gonna bug him at the game on Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, your 1-2 clash in the pit and a rematch from February 1st. Utah State travels to Albuquerque on Saturday, and I have the pleasure. Absolutely love Sean Turner, and I've bugged Sean before. He covers Utah State basketball. Sean, Jason Turner. I don't have any. I don't have any. Darn it, Pirates of the Caribbean jokes, but he covers Utah State men's basketball for the Herald Journal there in Logan, Utah. His name is Mr. Shawn Harrison. Sean, I appreciate taking your time on a busy Thursday night to join our Rinky Dink show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. It's snowy out. We've had a big snowstorm hit us tonight, so it's kind of good to be indoors right now.
Oh, good to hear. My day job, which is not journalism anymore, I do this outside of my day job. Half of my team in sales is in Boise, Idaho, and I got a couple buddies up there, and they were like, "Yeah, we got sent home from the office today." So I know it hit that part of the area. Stay warm, stay safe. I will open up here, and then I will throw it to Nick with a couple of questions. But 3 coaches in 3 years for Utah State. I guess it is truly spectrum magic. How does that happen? One in Division I basketball.
Spectrum magic, except for when the Lobos come to Logan, I guess. Yeah, that was a Spectrum Magic night. If you don't remember, and yeah, it was a crazy night. It's crazy how they've just reloaded. Last year was I just never dreamed or never thought something like that possible could happen because it was a complete roster change. There was a couple of kids that were here that redshirted, but nobody had played. They had 0 minutes. So to do what they did last year and actually go win a game in the NCAA tournament was just unbelievable. Now they had some guys coming back, but you got a new coaching change. I thought this team would be competitive. Did I think they'd be where they're at right now? No, not really, not at all. But they've really bought into this new coach. But how they've done it is, and really over the last, even longer than that a little bit, Ryan Odom, the guy that was here a couple of years ago, before him was Craig Smith. He was only here 3 years, and he took him to the NCAA tournament. So they've got just a kind of a lucky stretch right here, and it's been at different athletic directors as well. It hasn't been just the same athletic director hiring people, but it's a destination. I think that people, coaches that are kind of climbing up the ranks or going up the ranks, it's kind of enticing, I think, because of the passion here, kind of like the Pit. There's, fans turn out no matter how good or bad, and obviously the team's been good lately, but fans come out no matter what, and so it's a good selling point that way. And I don't know, it just seems like it's a basketball town, really.
No, I love that. I can remember, 15, 16 years ago when they did the I Believe That We Will Win, and they were the WAC team. I think the lone WAC team in the NCAA tournament, and they were hard to beat there. I remember that. What is your impression of Jared Calhoun? We had Nick wasn't there. No offense, Nick. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and as I jokingly say, if I were a gambling man, which I was, Youngstown State was a over making money machine for my buddy Jacob and I. He was a pleasure to talk to. Very charismatic. They played up tempo. They ran at Youngstown State. They're a lot of fun to watch. Just your overall thoughts of Jared Calhoun this season.
Yeah, he's been really good to deal with especially on my end. As far as the media, he's been really good. He's really a straight shooter. I don't ever feel like he's just blowing smoke at me. And I think he's really honest, almost too honest sometimes. He expects a lot, and if people aren't performing, he kind of calls them out a little bit on it. Not in a harsh way, but it's been kind of interesting to see him, kind of like get after some of his stars if they haven't had a very good game. But he is. Yeah, just a really good guy to work with. And I hope they can keep him here for a little while. He's got a young family, so maybe if he can put down a little roots, but he's been a pleasure to work with. Some of the things he said before the season started, you're like, oh yeah, that's coach speak. But, they've really been doing that. They've been pushing the ball. They've been scoring a lot. He said, we're going to score a lot. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to win games. And he wants to stay positive, but it's actually kind of come true from what he said was going to happen. That'd be in a hunt for a title. So I don't know. My impressions have been just nothing but positive with him.
And then we will turn our tides to Sunday, and I'm looking forward to this game. I'm going to just right off the bat, what does USU try to do differently against the Lobos other than make quote unquote more open shots? What do they do different on Sunday?
Well, they got to make free throws also, which is an open shot, I guess, as well. But yeah, got to make more free throws, got to make more 3-point shots. I don't know. They played, for 25 minutes that first time. They played pretty good. I mean, I thought it was a really competitive game. It got away from them really fast. New Mexico was really on that night, which is saying a lot for New Mexico because, for any team to come into the Spectrum and do what they did, the way they finished that game. It was just kind of a weird, that's probably one of the rare games I've seen that the body language down the stretch just kind of, it didn't give up, but they just, I don't know, it just wasn't the same. And I don't know what was going on. Not to make any excuses whatsoever. I know they had sickness in the team. The coach made no excuses afterwards and just said, we just got our our butts beat. And but I think other than hitting open shots, I think they're going to have to, they got to do something with Nelly Joseph. I mean, he is a load inside. They don't really have an answer for him because they have some big guys, but they're not physical. They've really worked the last month on really trying to be a more physical team. At times they kind of have been, but I think they're going to have to get physical with him. And then just hope that Donovan Dent is not on. I mean, Donovan just really runs that show. And I know that Coach Calhoun was really impressed. He was impressed with him before they played him. And then after they played him, he just went on and on about Donovan Dent. Maybe wear him down a little bit. I mean, I think I think Utah State is a little deeper, really, if they get contributions. Their bench normally really helps out, and their bench was decent against New Mexico the first time, but usually they get 35, 40 points out of the bench. So I think just overall, be more physical and run more of what their style, make more shots that open shots, like I said, and free throws. Free throws have just been a nightmare. I mean, there's been some games they've really been on, but lately, I don't know. It's a mind game, and it's not just one or two guys. It's gone throughout the lineup. Even Martinez, who at one time was leading the conference in free throw percentage, he even had a couple of game stretch where he was below 50%. So they got to get that figured out, I think.
Well, I have a Barstool Sports hat, not that we're affiliated with them, that says "Make your free throws," and I purposely bought it. And free throws around these parts, Wyoming missed 10 last night, and UNM missed 16. So that's private school tuition prior to UNM. That math adds to 26. I'm going to throw it over to my co-host tonight, Nick Nunez. Nick, do you have any question for Shawn Harrison?
Couple questions, Shawn. Thank you for joining us. How is Utah State doing health-wise? We saw Tucker Anderson and I think Dexter Akano go down when UNM played Utah State back on February 1st. It looked like Templin also got a cut on his hand. So how is Utah State doing health-wise coming into this game?
Tucker has played. He sprained an ankle. He only played a few minutes the next game. I'm trying to think who even played after that. All this season all blurs together. But yeah, after New Mexico, he played a few minutes against Wyoming. Didn't really do anything. He did play more against Fresno State. He played in this last game 17, 18 minutes. Did not score. I think it's bothered him a little bit. So he's a guy that if he gets hot, he really is another extra weapon. As far as Dexter Akano, it was cramping. They said he was cramping, which I thought maybe he hit his head or something the way he was acting. Yeah. But it was, and he's had no problem since then. And he's actually been in the starting lineup since Tucker hurt that ankle, and Dexter's been starting lately. So Akano's been no problem. Carson Templin, they never actually, which normally they do, kind of come out and say what's going on. I think he broke his pinky finger is what happened. But he's been playing. His minutes have been. He's just they would take a big broken bone to really keep him out of the lineup. That kid really plays hard. He is He is one that's physical, just a little bit maybe undersized. But yeah, I think that health wise, they had a sickness kind of go through them. When they went on the road to this last road trip, they had. Several guys with IVs, Drake Allen, one of the guards, and Dayton Albury, the two of the point guards. They both played, but both of them were, I guess, very sick. But this last game against Colorado State on Tuesday, they all seem to be fine, and I think they're probably as healthy as you can be at this time of the season. There's some bumps and bruises, but I think they're probably a little more healthier now than they were right after playing New Mexico. But yeah, I just mentioned what Ryan said there, free throws. I mean, what is up with this whole conference? Maybe other than Colorado State. I've watched so many games where teams just cannot hit free throws. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. And then the other question I had. Oh, no, that was perfect. Yeah, no, you gave us the full report. And then the other question I had for you, Shawn, was the defense for Utah State in the second half. I know Utah State's, I think won 3 in a row since that game. So they're trending upward. That was just one game. But the way that UNM attacked that 2-3 zone or whatever you want to call it, matchup zone,
Yeah, matchup zone. Yeah,
there we go. We'll call it a matchup zone. It seemed like, Donovan Dent really got in the paint. Nelly Jr. Joseph had 13 points in the second half. You talked about him. But UNM gets 52 points in the second half. That's probably got to be, on the higher end of what Utah State has given up in second halves this season. What do you think went wrong for Utah State in that second half?
Yeah, I think they kind of broke down communication-wise. I personally feel like, I don't know why. I mean, I know that they've started pressing teams a little more to try to get some turnovers, because early on they were just that matchup zone was kind of throwing people off in the half court. I think teams have kind of figured it out a little bit. Obviously, New Mexico really figured it out. I think so. They went to like pressing teams more. That backfired big time against New Mexico. I don't think New Mexico is a team you can press full court like they tried to do. They made them pay. But yeah, I think that they had some breakdowns. I think with communication. I think losing Tucker Anderson early in that game might have hurt a little bit on that. He's such a long, lengthy guy. He gets his hand on a lot of passes and stuff. It disrupts things. I don't know. It just seemed like they were kind of especially out of sorts in that second half. They kind of got exposed in that game, and they have had now since that game they have kind of had some rough second halves. I mean, they give up 55 points to Colorado State the other night. I mean, they had a huge lead. They kind of sustained them, but they've had a couple of really bad second halves, which has been kind of weird because when they first started Mountain West play, second halves were their strongest. They made some adjustments. I mean, they trailed a lot of times at halftime, but came back and won. I mean, they were down 18 at San Diego State and came back and won that game. But second halves of late have kind of been a problem. I don't know. It seems almost like the coach feels like they've kind of let off the gas a little bit. The guys haven't put the full effort out there. And I don't know if that's a long season starting to wear some guys down a little bit physically, but yeah, I think it's just kind of a lack of communication, kind of a combination of things, I think.
And then the last question, Shawn, are you making the trip to Albuquerque?
Oh, I wish. This is the first year. I'm not going to be able to make it down there. We've kind of, newspapers in general are struggling, as a lot of people know, but yeah, our budget's been slashed pretty bad. And I have a really good friend that lives in Albuquerque that I always love to come down there and visit, but yeah, I'm not making the trip this year. I really wish I was, especially with it being what's on the line now, kind of going down the stretch here, but no, I won't be there Sunday.
Oh, that's a bummer to hear. I thought you would have been here. I know you were here last year, but then again, that was, I think the Danny Sprinkle year was unprecedented.
Right.
Going back to the free throw shooting, Mason Falslev is shooting 54% from the free throw line on the season, and the entire team has struggled. Does that concern you in close games?
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Mason brings you so many things. He just does so many things out on the court. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You've got to have him out there. I don't know what is going on with this kid. I've covered him since he went to high school here in the Valley. So I've known him, and he had issues in high school with free throws. I mean, he did so many things, led his team to a state championship when he was a junior. But free throws has been his problem. And he kind of had some issues at times last year. But the first half of this season, he was doing okay. He was up around the 70% mark. But I don't know, the last 5, 6, 7 games, he has just had some horrendous, and it's almost a liability because teams have been fouling him at the end of games, if it's close. So yeah, it's definitely, the 2 of the games they did lose. I mean, when they lost at UC San Diego in the non-conference and at UNLV, I mean, there was other factors involved, but they missed free throws in that game, both those games that could have maybe, I mean, they're both 3-point games, so who knows? But yeah, it definitely makes you nervous down the stretch if it's close, because they have not been very consistent there.
I don't treat this show like this, and I'm not, it's funny you brought up the newspaper thing with the Albuquerque thing earlier. That's why I started this. And then I sling computers and printers for a major company during the week because my U.S. history degree and journalism degree are hard at work right there doing that. But I guess I'm a BS artist, much like our listeners, because they love me. This game, I mean, I don't want to say, with UNM's schedule down the stretch, they have to go to Boise, they have to go to San Diego, and they have to go to Reno. I will switch this up because Rick wasn't able to join us. I'll ask this question for him. In your eyes, are Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph as good as duo as Nemus Keita and Sam Merrill for USU? They were some good teams, and then that poor pandemic year.
Yeah. That gets talked about a lot. Like, what would they have done? Could they have won? Could they have made it to, the second weekend? Could they have made the Sweet 16? We'll never know. But, oh man, I mean, Dent and Nelly are definitely an incredible duo. They would have to be right up there with them. I think that a little bit different because Sam didn't know, he wasn't really, he did handle the ball, but he wasn't really a primary, he was more of the shooter, the shooting guard, even though he could and did handle the ball a lot of times, especially down the stretch. He would kind of take over that way. But I don't know. Keita was, but Joseph, man, I think Joseph's a better rebounder. I think he rebounds and gets after the ball a lot more. I think he's a little more physical than Keita is. So, but they're definitely, it would be really hard. It would be interesting to see those two duos play against each other in a game. That would be, I would pay to see that, because I think that would be really good. But I don't know. I can't say. I'm a little biased, I guess, just because I've been around Utah State so long. But that was a great duo, and it's really sad that they didn't get a chance to play together in the NCAA tournament.
No, appreciated that shot. I'm going to throw it back over to Nick. He's got another question.
Sorry, Shawn, I just had one more for you. I wanted to ask you about the Herd, the student section at Spectrum. It's so famous around the country. Can you talk about how you've seen that student section kind of grow? UNM's trying to do the same thing here with the Hellraisers, but just curious to see how that's grown in your time covering Utah State.
Oh, yeah. It was interesting because this last home game, they honored a couple of guys that actually they've always had a good student section, but maybe not so much organized or a name, I guess, per se. But yeah, a couple of guys that started the whole, they have a little newsletter that they hand out before games that kind of gives the dirt on the opposing team or players, whatever they can dig into. But it is, there's always, like I said, there's always been a strong student section there, but then I think over the years they've become more unified. The chants are more together. They've come up with stuff. They have a leadership group that they pass on, every couple of years whenever they graduate or whatever. And it just seems like they keep it going forward. And the younger students get, taught by the older ones that are going out, what to do or how to keep things going. And yeah, it's just become a thing, and they have a group. They have, if you're in the Herd, if you're actually joining that group within the student section, you get a lot of different privileges. I'm not sure how much it costs. It's a little bit to join that, but they actually get let in the building a little bit earlier so they can get the prime seats in the student section. But when you have a student, and I know a lot of people have kind of like, well, it's bigger than a lot of them because they allow like 35. It's up to, I think it's 3,500. It used to be 4,200, but they've kind of cut into that to sell more tickets to make some more money. But it's about 3,500 strong. But man, it is, the people, especially when it's, when they're winning like this, the students show up, and it's fun. It's an incredible atmosphere. I hope it does spread. I hope other schools can get some big student sections, but it takes a commitment from the university as well to give up that many seats or give up a good chunk of seats so that you can get students in there. And I think it's just a tradition, old winter nights. It's no better place than to go over to the Spectrum. And Utah State is a school where there's a lot of students that live either on campus or really, really close to campus. It's not a commuter school whatsoever. And so I think that kind of helps out with just the proximity of where the Spectrum is to student housing, as well as a bunch of apartments just barely off campus. And so a lot of students just flood to it whenever there's games. That's kind of a long answer, but hopefully that answered your question.
No. I mean, the show and the Spectrum, I love it. I think it's great. I think what UNM is doing, I think it could be a lot better, but I think it's been better than what I remember as a student. I could be wrong. Then again, I wasn't in the student section much. This game on Sunday, how big is it if Utah State loses, and how can they maybe rectify, or is this something that UNM pulls away with? I just want your thoughts on how big it is for Utah State to maybe gain some ground. I think being back like 2 games or a game and a half.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think, like you said, it's really big for both because they both have some really tough. I mean, Utah State still has to go to Boise State and they have to go to Colorado State. So they have a couple of tough games too still and they have to play San Diego State at home. You don't know which Aztec team's going to show up these days. I would think they could handle them, but you never know. So I mean, they've got a couple of games. So I think it's big for both schools. I think Utah State does, if they lose, then they're really behind the gun to try to win a regular season title. I think if New Mexico wins this game, obviously they've definitely got the inside track to win the regular season and get that number 1 seed. But it's a big game for both teams. I was kind of when I got home, I had to go to a high school game last night, and I got home and watched the last 10 minutes of that UNM and Wyoming game, and I couldn't believe it. And the first thought I was thinking, well, this kind of sucks for Utah State, because if they needed to be woke up a little bit, they're woke up now after a close call with Wyoming. But I don't think either one of these teams are going to overlook it. Obviously, they're not going to overlook it. They're going to both come in. This is a huge game. I think both teams know that. Both coaching staffs know that. And we'll just see. We'll see who is ready to perform. I mean, it's interesting. These are young 20, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. Utah State in some cases 22, 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
But they're just young guys, and sometimes you just they're just not there some nights, and they don't perform. So but I think it's I really think it's crucial for both teams, really, if they want to win the regular season title.
I think that when Utah State is good, it's much like many other mid-majors. If it's good for college basketball, just because of that atmosphere and what they bring. Last question for you. We're joined by Shawn Harrison, the Herald Journal in Logan, Utah. Ryan Odom's claim to fame was 2018, excuse me, with that win over Virginia in the first round. Danny Sprinkle, I mean, I interviewed him at Mountain West Conference Media Days, and I meant no disrespect to him at all. I was like, who is this guy and what have you done? And then I learned about him, and I was like, holy moly. And then I really can't blame him. I don't know if he's public enemy number 1 in Logan. But they've both made quick exits after immediate success at Utah State. And they've taken a couple of their best players with them. Is there any fear that will happen to Jared Calhoun?
Oh yeah, there's definitely fear. Fans are definitely worried and concerned, especially what's happened in the last couple of years. I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. I really think this athletic department is going to try to lock him down, try to give him an extension. That's kind of the rumblings I'm hearing. I don't know if some big school comes along that offers bigger money. It's hard to match that. I've heard he has a young fan. 3 or 4 little kids. I think his oldest daughter's in 4th or 5th grade, 6th grade. She's playing on a somewhat competitive team here in the Valley, basketball team. And I've seen him at some high school girls basketball games. We have a nationally ranked high school girls basketball team here in the Valley this year. And he's been to some of the games with his kids. I have heard that it was really a struggle. His kids had a really hard time moving and leaving Ohio. So everybody's hoping that they've made friends. His daughter's playing on this team now, even though they're young. That maybe that, and if they can give him some kind of an extension, boost his pay a little bit, that maybe they can keep him here. I'm shocked at how much they paid Bronco Mendenhall. I don't know where they came up with the money to pay him for the football coach. So. It's kind of in order. If you're going to pay him that much, you probably should reward this coach with a little extension and pay increase as well. So definitely fears, definitely worries. But I don't know. I guess we'll just wait and see. A lot of it depends on too how well. I mean, if they go to the NCAA tournament, if you get some more attention that way. I mean, he's already got national attention, obviously, but they go do some stuff in the NCAA tournament, and then who knows what's going to happen after that. So, yeah, definitely fears here, definitely concerns.
Sean, I want to thank you and Sean Turner for being or Jason Turner, excuse me, for I don't know why I called him Sean Turner. Geez, and then I was picturing his name when I said that, spell SEAN. So go figure. You and Jason Turner have been very, very kind to me since I got back to Albuquerque and I did a radio show and then doing this. So I really appreciate you guys. And I will say this though, being that we're in Albuquerque, I'm gonna bug Jason over the summer and right before Bronco Mendenhall gets on a plane and comes to Albuquerque, because it's not basketball, but there was a lot of mean words said here.
Oh, yeah.
But Shawn Harrison, the Logan Herald Journal. Sean, I can't appreciate you enough for joining us tonight. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry you don't get to make the trek down to Albuquerque this year.
Yeah, anytime, Ryan. It's always a joy, and yeah, make sure I'll give Jason the heads up. But Jason's always he's a good guy, and he loves to come on and talk as well. And yeah, anytime, give me a call. You know, maybe they meet each other in the Mountain West tournament. I'd love to visit with you if you want to.
We will be there, and if that's a matchup, I mean, I'll just probably have you on. So, thank you very much. I will let you get 30 minutes back of your Thursday night. Thank you. I hope you have a great weekend.
No problem. Thanks, guys. You too.
All right. That was Shawn Harrison of the Logan Herald Journal. We're going to wrap things up here. Nick, great questions. Appreciate it. I'm going to go to some of the comments. Most of them aren't hate-filled tonight, which is fantastic. The game on Sunday. Eric Markham, the game on Sunday will be a battle. If we play like we did last night, we lose. We did not play our best basketball to win. Kino Kiene, I hope I pronounced your name right. Here's how do I pronounce this UFC fighter segment? UNM can't afford to get out to a slow start against Utah State like they have in the past. I mean, I agree with you there wholeheartedly. Raynard Ford, what a great name. Great comment, George. I agree with you. Rankings puts the jinx on teams. By the way, UNM women won 88-83 in overtime, so back on winning track. So win's a win. Good for them. Rick, George has great insight. Nick does have a fantastic haircut, and George takes as well. Yeah, we got to get George back on. He was phenomenal. Like I said, Phil McDonald and George Scott, hopefully down this stretch through the tournament, much more basketball insight. Then Nick, your dad and I wanted to get back on the Lobo Legend series like we did last year. If you go back on our YouTube channel, David Quixote, Doris Gary, we've had Kenny on, Clayton Shields, my personal favorite, Royce Only. David Quixote was probably one of the best interviews, though. A lot of old timers love it. Nick, any takeaways and prediction for Sunday? I guess I'll treat it like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I think the consensus from everybody is we cannot start slow. We've seen a lot of commenters say that. We said that at the beginning of the show. So, I think UNM's going to have to play the full 40 minutes. I'm going to reserve on a prediction, Ryan. I hate to give predictions because I hate to jinx teams. I think we all just want to see UNM go out there, play good basketball, and we'll see where we're at on Sunday.
I find it very funny, and I appreciate that, Nick. I find it very funny. I got this guy. He commented, Ryan the Lobo hater. I'm trying to get better. Well, again, when you've been a part of a cover up with your alma mater, I'm jaded. I get it. That gentleman is long gone, and I've been very, very happy. And maybe the last month or so, my rage is I should just start my own show in here called Lobo Rage. And I'm stealing that from a channel I watch on betting. I don't know if I'm going to make a prediction, but I think if you heard me the other night, I don't, it's catch-22, I guess, with my comment, because I don't think the conference is that good.
It's true.
And I think that this Lobo team is good. Once again, I don't think they're a top 25 team, but as George said, who cares? Who gives a shit? I would trade a Mountain West Conference title if they can advance to the next weekend. I would absolutely love, and I mean this, to see them play. For as much heartbreak as Lobo fan has seen, I would love to see them play on Thursday or Friday on the second weekend, and maybe on Saturday and Sunday. I asked your dad this: would you trade a Mountain West Conference regular season title for an Elite Eight appearance? And the answer was hell expletive yes.
Yeah.
I think the ranking, yeah, dude, there's Rick, Lobo Rage with Gabe Morrissey and Tamori. Yeah, dude. I found a channel called Sports Grid, and it is straight out of, and I love it. It is straight out of an SNL skit, with how they are. They were on Super Bowl Sunday from like 8 a.m. Eastern to like kickoff, talking prop bets. It was great. Gabe Morrissey's great. If you find Sports Grid, and I'm giving them free publicity, they're on YouTube, fast channels. If you have YouTube TV, look it up. It's phenomenal. It's Nick, I might send it to you because it's straight out of a SNL skit with how they are. And I don't try to be like that. I don't take anything too seriously. I love gambling on sports. I think it's great. If you want to fade me, bro. I lost my train of thought there, and I'm not trying to ramble. I'm trying to finish things up. I think the time now is to strike for UNM. I think it would be I think if they win Sunday, they are fully in the driver's seat to win this. Just don't mess up against Boise or San. They could probably afford to drop one of those and still win the title outright. I don't know. You go 18-2, that would be great. Something that I'm looking forward to, and pitchers and catchers have reported for MLB, and I got to get the song up. Lobo baseball is coming off its second consecutive winning season and first Mountain West Conference title burst since 2017, and the best worst song ever, John Fogerty. They open their season tomorrow. The games are on MLB TV. They are in a tournament, and I'm going to go there very quickly. And I'm going to share the screen. Here it is. Make sure I can see it. They're in the Desert Invitational in Arizona. They play tomorrow at 5 o'clock at Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona. All three games. They play Austin Pay, UC Irvine on Saturday. And Rick, if you're still listening, we got to give old Tim Chavez a call. Our friend, Seton Hall grad. They play them Sunday. All those games are on MLB.tv. They're free. I'm going to check that out. I'm excited. I love Ray Birmingham and what he did, and I didn't remove this from the thing. There we go. Too busy spouting BS from my mouth. Yeah, looking forward to that. Glad baseball's back. We didn't really talk it much last year. They did have a lot of offense. It was great. So might bug to see if we can get head coach. I believe his name's Todd Brown on. Again, showing how much I know. So looking forward to that season. Nick, I know you're not that big of a baseball fan. I'm a baseball honk in here. Again, that season starts tomorrow night against Austin Pay, 5 o'clock. Just some quick hits. Josiah Alec, fan favorite, former Lobo post player, will play professional basketball for the Southland Sharks of the New Zealand Basketball League. Of course, he was on that Nebraska team that went to the tournament last year with one of my favorite players of all time, Tamanaga. Greg Brown Jr. will be inducted into the WGCAC Hall of Fame for his time at NM Junior College in Hobbs, New Mexico. He played there from 90 to 92. He was the player of the year and an All-American in 92. So very cool for that. Obviously, sadly passed away. Nick, any final thoughts before we get out of here? I appreciate you joining me tonight and putting up with me.
No, man, it's always a pleasure. Great having George Scott on. Great insight. And then it's always great when we get somebody on from who the Lobos are playing. Shawn Harrison's obviously been covering Utah State for a long time. So now we had two great guests. Looking forward to a big game on Sunday. Go Lobos.
Yeah, just the plan of attack for next week. We plan to come to you, I think, live in the evening on Sunday, just because that's a 2 o'clock start. And then the NFL is no more. So it's full on college basketball into March. It's that time of year. And with the Super Bowl getting later, it's so weird. And then Monday or Tuesday, Monday, I believe, trying to talk Jason Eck and Lobo football, excuse me. And some of the transfers, by the way, wanted to throw that out there as well. UNM football is, where is it? Well, anyway, they have open practices, and the spring game is on Friday, April 18th. It is open to the public, and I just want to read it. I think it was on Instagram. I'm not seeing it on their Twitter page, but spring practice dates March, all open to the public. I think one thing Jason Eck has done, we're going to try to bug Frank, get him on next week, or one of the transfers, maybe Scott Trey Humphrey or his son Jackson Eck, to talk about transferring here. Again, the rumor is that it's a FCS all-star team. Somebody told Jeff Simieta that. Very good to hear. I know Jacob Neff, looking at it, was like, man, that's pretty well put together. I think they're going to be competitive this year. But spring practice dates, and once again, I'm going to beat it like a dead horse, open to the public. March 11th, 13th, 14th, 25th, 27th, 29th. April 1st, April Fool's Day, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 15th, and 17th. And then the spring game will commence on Friday, April 18th. I don't have a time, obviously, gather. That's in the evening. I can't stress this enough, and everybody calls me a Lobo hater and to shut up and whatnot. Yeah, I mentioned all the here. You guys, I think, want to hear what you want to hear that comes out of my mouth. Steven Pena, my buddy Steven Pena, Mike Matas, we lived and died 20 years ago with the Lobo football team. I loved it more than I think the New York Football Giants. I cannot express, and I still won't be a homer. I still won't be a homer. I won't be a homer. I will try to be objective, but I cannot express how excited I am for Jason Eck and what he is bringing. Nick, I don't know if I know I said we were hopping off. I don't know if you want to comment on that. You haven't hopped on much with football. Just final thoughts, man. Jason Eck, and is there excitement for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's been at a couple Lobo basketball games. He was introduced.
He's been at every one since he's been hired, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him last night, and he's engaged. It's good to see a head coach from one of the other top sports programs in the athletic department get behind Lobo basketball. He's already got a catchphrase, Lobo up. People are starting to say that. He's bringing excitement around the program. And yeah, just really excited. I think I am going to go to that spring game.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to figure out the Lobo up thing. I think it's a knock at Aggie up, which is pretty good. I'm very excited. Again, we're going to talk probably football Monday. The men play on Boise, which I was going to go to and did not anymore, and glad I'm not, because of the weather in that part of the country. I was going to hop on a plane on Sunday evening after that game. I'm not doing that anymore. That is women's basketball, so that doesn't help talking men's basketball. But yeah, Tuesday night, Wednesday the 19th. So I know we're going to try to do a football show early next week, and then obviously we'll give you another maybe preview with Boise. Maybe I'll bug BJ Rains. Appreciate everybody that commented. Appreciate George Scott. Love him, and he is opinionated. I appreciate it. He kind of backed me up with some of his stuff tonight, Nick. Really appreciated. Phil McDonald kind of had an emergency, so I told him, man, he's welcome on this show to talk Lobo basketball all the time. He just said his only detriment was he's not on social media. So, Rick, thanks for joining. And to your dad, pretty impressed that he's calling the game and had a time to comment. I appreciate that if that's true. Nick, I appreciate it as always. I hope everybody enjoys the game on Sunday. Have a good weekend. Shout out to the guy again. I forgot your name, dude. Pius Grad, I think 2013, 2014. He went to NMSU, but he's a diehard Lobo fan. I forgot your name already. You ran into you walking up the stairs, but also had a couple people reach out to me via Facebook, which I don't get on much anymore, and Twitter, asking where I was and wondering about me. So I do appreciate that with all the crap that is slung on the old Elon Musk site. Everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy the game. And as I always say, don't do anything that I would do. We will talk to you Sunday night. Have a good one.